Phaser Beam by Max Pedals. Before we get started, I just wanted to say that this is a very musical pedal and it's very versatile too, and I'm going to show you that in a little bit. But before we get into the woods too far, I just wanted to mention that it's a true bypass pedal. It runs on 9 volts DC, center negative, like a Boss style. It draws only 20 milliamps of current. The input impedance is 1 meg and the output is pretty low at just under 1K. That's pretty good for a pedal. You don't want to probably put it at the end of your chain and use it as a regular buffer. You'd probably want something in the range of 100 meg on the output for that. But when it's in your signal chain, this will work fine. And that 1 meg input impedance is really good because you don't lose any of the nuances from any pickups. At that impedance, it's almost like going into an amplifier, and the pedal sees all the information coming from your guitar. It's an OTA based phaser, if that means anything to you, similar to the Ross phaser, but it has tons of mods in it to make it more versatile. So if you're a fan of modulation pedals, you're gonna love this one. So let's just talk a little bit about the controls before we test it out. The depth control controls the volume of the wet signal. All the way down is just dry, and all the way up is 50-50. 50% wet signal, 50% dry signal. When the kill dry switch is on, this little switch here, it acts like a volume knob, which is very cool. So you can sort of boost the signal quite a bit. That works out really nice. Just a quick note, the feedback knob, when in kill dry mode, will adjust the width of the vibrato. So if you want a more natural sound, most of the time keep that low, but if you want a more pronounced sound, keep it to the right. The feedback knob's main function is to control the resonance of the circuit. When you turn it up, the waveform is more of a peak, more pronounced. And then when you turn it down, it's more subtle, it's more round like that. The rate knob Well, that makes sense. This controls the speed of the phaser. The slowest rate, oddly enough, is over 30 seconds to complete a full sweep to lightning fast 15 cycles per second. And that's in mode 2. And I guess we'll get to the mode switch next. So with the mode switch, you have position 1. This is the slowest rate. So this is sort of like if you want that really, really slow sweep like I was mentioning before, you're going to want this in position 1. If you want faster sweeps, then put it in position 2. And what is really cool with this pedal is when it's in 0 mode, well, your manual knob here controls the sweep. It's kind of almost like when you have a wah pedal and you're sweeping it like that. There's a volume pot inside of a wah pedal, and then you can do it manually like this. And what I found is that this manual knob works great if you want to change the frequencies. Kind of like you can use it like an EQ. If you want a guitar part to sit in the mix and you want some more high end to come out, especially if you're using the same guitar and you want to EQ it a little bit differently, because you don't want the same sound when you're layering guitar parts. Or you can have a more mid pronounced, or you can take that away. Maybe if it's a rhythm part, you want something to sit in the background. And I think that is a very, very cool feature of this pedal. So let's try some sounds out, shall we? I've got it set to just a really kind of moderate phase with a fairly slow sweep. Very, very, very neat sound. We're gonna set up a phase 90 sound, so we're gonna max the depth all the way out. We're gonna keep the feedback low, the manual around like a 6 or 7 or so, and I'm just gonna speed up the rate a little bit there, and that should give us this phase 90 sound. Really nice and chewy, and I like it. So that gives you sort of the notice the rate down here. That's about as fast as it's going to get. If you were to go in mode 2, it's getting fast very quickly. If you're doing a soundtrack and you need to come up with some alien sounds, I mean, that's pretty much it for me. Let's try doing like a vibrato sound. So we're going to keep the depth on 10, feedback about 1, the manual all the way down to 1, and I'll put this on mode 1 because I want a slower sweep. Sorry, wrong switch. It's going to sound more like you're in a pinch and you need a vibrato sound and your amp doesn't do that, at least you can kind of get something close. Of course, you can always play with the feedback, and that way you get something a little bit more subtle. Let's try that filter mode. So when you're in mode 0 here, and we're gonna keep the kill dry off. We're gonna keep the depth.
Oh, son of a gun.
On 10. Now check this out, okay? You can tell by the sweep. Maybe what I'll do is I'll put a little distortion on so you get an idea of what I'm talking about. See what I mean by the cocked wah kind of a sound? That's what the function I was talking about that would be really cool. If you just want to dial up a different sound to sit in the different spot in the mix, that manual knob is very cool. Now, when you're in manual mode, the rate knob doesn't do anything. Let's try a super slow mode that Max kind of dubbed as Glacial, because it seems to sweep so slow. So we'll give it a really curve on the feedback. That's a great sound if you want to just have a rhythm part that just gives it a little bit of character. This rolling sound in the background, just to give it a little more depth. Probably not too unlike what Eddie Van Halen used to do. And at the beginning of the video, I set up this Eddie Van Halen sound that I thought was something that Eddie Van Halen might use. Vibe. This is really cool. If you want to get sort of a Jimi Hendrix sound, let's see if we can dial up that. Let's check my notes here. The depth about 5. That's about right there. Because I had all this written down ahead of time. Feedback around 6 o'clock. And the rate somewhat fast-ish. And probably mode 2. Kill dry off, so that's off to the left. So it gets this really, really, really close to vibe sound that you can get. Of course, you can play around with the knobs a little bit. It doesn't quite give you that Leslie sound. It's a little bit more like Jimi Hendrix type of vibe, like that type of thing. But very cool. I'll leave some information in the description box below on where you can get this pedal, because I think this is something that everybody should have on their pedal board, even a jazz musician like me. That's how versatile it is.